Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our April webinar. We have a lot of stuff that we are going to cover this evening, specifically pertaining to how we are going to operate Camp Rotary with the restrictions that the state has for us in the way of COVID-19. I know everyone is going to have a lot of questions. I'm going to ask that you wait to ask those questions until the end of the presentation because we may answer those as part of the presentation. If you have not joined us for a webinar before, you will not have access to your camera or to your microphone. All questions should be directed to the chat. But with that, we are going to get started. So, first thing that I want to talk about, your upcoming deadline and final payments, as well as the council refund policy. So your final payment for summer camp is due on May 3rd by 11:59 p.m. The total amount that is due at that time is $330 for all youth campers, $160 for all adult campers, and $33 per day for all part-time adult campers. At midnight on May 4th, the system will apply a $15 late fee to all regular Scouts BSA youth. The late fee will not be applied to Webelos crossovers or new Scouts. There are also no late fees for adults. Any unused camper slots on your reservation need to be dropped before May 31st. They are still subject to the MCC refund policy, which is 15%. 15% cancellation fee if you cancel for any reason. If you do not drop your spot by May 31st, the unit is responsible to pay in full any unused slots on your reservation. So please make sure that you're keeping that in mind as we go into the month of May and get closer to the start of camp. We will not be giving any refunds after May 31st, except as listed in the MCC refund policy for death in the family, health or medical issues. But per the MCC policy, that 15% cancellation fee still applies. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you're moving forward and getting those final payments turned in. The next important thing to have on your radar is working with the adults that will be attending camp with your unit as leadership on getting their DHS clearance letters requested from the state of Michigan. All adults who are 21 years of age or older are required to have a DHS clearance letter to be on the camp property. This is unit leaders and registered parent leaders. For 2021, we are not allowing visitors to camp. For the safety of our campers, for the safety of our staff, to limit contact between folks, we will not be allowing visitors to camp for the 2021 season. So you do not need to worry about having any parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, etc. Filling out their DHS forms for this year. On the next slide is a sample of the clearance request form. They need to be filled out and mailed to the address on your screen. I will leave that up for a couple seconds for you guys to jot down. Corey, if you could type that in the chat for me too, I would greatly appreciate that. Some things to keep in mind when you're filling out these forms to mail into Lansing. You need to include a copy of your driver's license, and you need to have the results mailed to you, not to camp. Typically, the state turns these around in about 2 weeks and gets them back to you. I do know that offices have limited personnel in them right now. So they are in the process of having someone pick up mail on a regular basis, and then getting those to the folks that are working remotely in order to process those for everyone. There is only one office. That's this P.O. box that you see on your screen, and all they do is Central Registry clearance letters for Michigan camps. That is all they do. Leave this up for a couple more seconds to finish jotting down that address. And Corey has put the link to that form in the chat as well. Okay. If you are a non-Michigan resident, and we do have some folks coming from out of state this summer, you are required to fill out your state's equivalent form and then bring that documentation to camp with you. If your state does not have an equivalent form, you will need to fill out the self-assessment form and bring that with you. If you need information on your state's forms or self-assessment, please email me at andrew.wright@scouting.org. One of the big questions that we always get is, are previous year's forms still valid? The answer is it depends. If they are a registered member of the BSA and they have not had a lapse in their membership since the original letter was provided to them, then that form is still valid. If they have not been registered with the BSA, or if their BSA membership has had a lapse, meaning they did not register for a period of time since their letter was issued, then they are required to get a new letter this year. There is no fee for a DHS clearance form. It does not cost anything other than the 52-cent stamp to send it in the mail. Some ID or some best practices from other units have all of the adults in your form filled or in your unit fill this out, regardless of if they think they're attending camp or not. Again, as long as there is no lapse in their registration, the form is still valid. Make a photocopy of your letter and bring that to camp with you. We do not return those. So you want to make sure that you are providing camp with a copy so that you have your original for attending other Michigan camps. And if you think your form is already on file, one of the easiest ways for us to clear you through the check-in process is to still bring a copy of your letter. If you don't have it, you can call. I can look it up in the system for you. I know I have a couple emails that I need to get back to on asking if their form is still on file. I am waiting for the updated form to be uploaded into our shared server, and then I will be able to answer that question back to you. Okay, we are going to talk about food service. In December, I alluded to the fact that we had a plan in place for food service if we were not able to use the dining hall this year. And I'm here today to tell you that we are not able to use the dining hall this year. I will say this, we are not going to patrol cooking. We did a survey a couple seasons ago that asked what type of food service units liked. One of the questions that we asked is, would you still attend Camp Rotary if we were a patrol cooking camp? And the feedback was very simple. A lot of units come to Rotary because they don't need to prepare their food. So we will be doing campsite delivery service, both hot and cold portions, 3 meals a day for all of your meals for the entire week. Some things to note, we worked very diligently last season before we had to cancel camp in 2020. And then I have worked with my team to follow up with some of these folks. We've consulted with other councils that perform similar food service. I personally sit on a national task force for food service and have brought this up with them. So we have not been just pulling this out of thin air. We've put a lot of time, effort, and research into this to try and make this process as smooth as possible going into 2021. But we are asking that everyone that comes to camp be patient because it is new. It's going to have hiccups. It's going to have issues throughout the entire season. So we ask you to be patient with us as we execute this food service plan so that we can still operate camp this summer. As I said, we're going to do campsite meal service. The dining hall will not be open to campers in 2021. We will be delivering food to your campsite. The unit will be responsible for having adult leaders that serve the food. Food will need to be served by pod. So one pod will come up, get their food. The second pod will come up, get their food on down the line. So again, you will not need to set up for patrol cooking. The camp is going to provide you with a lot of the things that you will need. You will receive dish soap, sanitizer tablets, thermometers, sponges, paper towels, a water cooler to keep water in your campsites during the day. We will have limited picnic tables in our campsites, ice, coffee grounds for those units that wish coffee. You will be responsible for preparing that coffee in your campsites, meal delivery and pickup, and daily trash pickup in the evening, or more frequently if we determine that's needed based off of the size of your unit. We are not able to provide every unit with everything that they are going to need to make food service work at camp this year. There are some things that your unit will need to provide. Some of these, a lot of you bring to camp with you anyways, but just know that what is on your screen now, and I will be sending out a copy of our food service addendum at the end of this meeting. It is already posted on the registration landing page, but your unit will need to provide dining flies or other shelters to eat underneath, mess kits or place settings, 1 per person. Don't forget your cup. A lot of mess kits no longer come with cups or come with the really flimsy cups, so make sure that you're not forgetting your cup. If you wish to have coffee, we will provide you with the coffee grounds, but you will need to have a coffee pot. Most of you will have that in your unit trailer. Wash, rinse, and sanitize basins. Equipment to heat water, and you can do this however you like, whether you want to use your propane stoves. Most units bring propane to camp anyway for their lanterns, etc. If you want to bring a tripod and heat your water over the campfire, you're welcome to do so as well. And then units should bring additional tables or seating. Seating is going to be key to making camp work this summer. We'll talk about that a little bit further down the line as we discuss program areas. We will have seating in all of our program areas to accommodate the campers taking those classes, but we can better socially distance if everyone brings a portable camp chair with them. So when you're talking with your families, make sure that a camp chair that's easy to carry around is on their list. You'll want to use that in the campsites as well as in the program areas. I see Matt in the chat. Can we bring paper plates, cups, etc.? That is up to you as a unit how you want to handle your food service for the week. We're going to provide you with everything to do your dishes. But if you want to bring disposables, your unit is more than welcome to do that. But that place setting is going to be the responsibility of the unit while they come to camp. So one of the questions that I've gotten asked on this process is, how are we going to make sure that everyone has enough to eat? How are we going to try to minimize food waste? We are going to be using a meal order form. You will receive the meal order form each night at dinner time, and we'll need to work on filling that form out during dinner. When the staff member comes around after the dinner meal to pick up the hot bags and coolers, they will be asking you for that meal order form so that we can return that to our kitchen and make sure that we are packing the right amount of food for your unit. Units will want to write the quantity of each item that they would like for each meal, but you're going to need to adhere to the listing or the listed serving size limit per person. We ask units to only order what they will eat. We are not providing you with coolers for the day for leftover food. You will also select the condiments that you want for the entire day. These will be delivered with breakfast, with the exception of condiments that require refrigeration. Persons that have special diets should indicate so on the space provided on that daily order form. In addition to the form that they submit, and in addition to their registration form, this is just our way to triple check that those folks are getting the dietary needs that they need to have for their safety. On your screen now is a sample meal order form. So you'll see breakfast and lunch are listed on the front. Dinner, condiments, and by request are listed on the back. Again, these are samples. We have since updated this form to include special diets, a section for that. And if you can see it on your screen, you'll see, for an example, the breakfast item is French toast. A serving size is 2 pieces, and each person can have up to 2 servings. So then you'll put your total servings requested in the last box, and that is what we will pack for your unit for breakfast the next day. Meal times are not going to change. Breakfast will still be at 8 o'clock. Lunch will still be at 12:15, and dinner will still be at 6 o'clock. It's important to note we will not be having parade field gatherings this summer for flag raising and flag lowering. We will be utilizing the parade field differently for other programs, but everything else will take place in the campsite. Meals will be delivered to your campsite within 10 minutes of the start of the meal time. So for example, for breakfast, we could deliver your meal to your campsite anytime between 7:50 and 8:10. So within 10 minutes of the start of the meal time in either direction, we will be delivering to your campsites. You need to make sure that someone is in the campsite to receive the meal. Again, we're going to be using insulated hot bags and coolers. At the end of the meal, they will be picked up by our staff and sanitized for use during the next meal. Hand washing is going to be extremely important this summer. I mean, it is all of the time, but it's definitely more important than ever now. You will want to make sure that your campers have a chance to wash their hands. Hands should be washed for at least 20 seconds with soap and water at the campsite latrine before each meal. And then in addition to hand washing, you can also use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. I see some questions popping in the chat that I'll address here quickly. Steve wants to know, you said there will be some tables. Should we bring tables? How will we know how many tables our site has? Steve, the camp will be calling all of our units the week before they arrive. That is a question that you can ask, is how many tables are in my campsite. It will vary by campsite based off of the number of folks that are staying in that campsite. I would strongly suggest that if your unit has additional tables, that you try and bring those with you. He also asks, will food be separated by patrol pod when it gets delivered? No, it will not. It will be mass packed, which is why we're asking adults to serve the food in the sites, one patrol pod at a time. Dave White wants to know, is there running water in the campsite? Yes, every campsite has a latrine that has a running trough sink in it. Sean wants to know, can the meal form sample be sent out so we can see what's being served? I will be touching on menu in a couple of slides. So moving on, food waste and trash. We're asking that you do not dump any leftover food into the latrine or into your woods. This needs to go in your trash can, which is why we know we will be doing daily trash pickup. This will keep the critters out of your campsites. Any leftover food from your meals should be disposed of in your trash can as well. We cannot accept that back into the kitchen. We cannot reserve it. So unfortunately, it becomes trash. That is where that order form comes into play to try and minimize the amount of food waste that we have during each meal. Campsite trash cans will be emptied between 7:30 and 9 o'clock each night. And if you require additional trash pickup, let our food service delivery drivers or any of our commissioner staff know when they come into the campsite. Meal cleanup. At the end of each meal, you'll place your hot bags and your coolers next to the road, the campsite sign at the side of the road, so that those can be easily picked up by members of our staff and limit contact with folks in the campsite. Units are going to utilize the 3-tub washing process for all of your cooking and eating utensils. Remember that part of this process is that dishes are supposed to be air dried to prevent the spread of germs. Again, we will provide you with a sheet and the materials on how to do this. Your unit will be responsible for heating the water and checking the temperature with the camp provided thermometer to make sure that your wash, rinse, and sanitize bins are at the correct temperature. Dishwater disposal will be done using the leave no trace method. Please do not put it in our latrines or down our sinks. You'll simply walk out into the woods 200 feet away from camp and 200 feet away from a water source and fan your water out into the woods. Leftover solids from your dishwater should be disposed of in the trash can that will be in your campsite. I've already stated, do not dump your dishwater into the latrine. So on your screen now is a sample menu. This is not finalized yet, but this is what we are looking at for summer camp this year. The menu is always subject to change. We will post the final menu on May 1st. That will be on the registration page, and we will email everyone once that is posted. But as you look on your screen, you will see kind of what each meal is going to look like. There's no salad bar this year, so you'll see that there are a couple meals in the evening where we will be providing you with a side salad. And we have upped our options for each meal and our serving size for each meal so that nobody goes hungry while they are at camp. Again, May 1st is when the final version of this menu will be posted. If you have a special dietary need, We ask that you list it on your registration. We also ask that you list or that you submit a dietary request form, and we ask that you call the camp at least 2 weeks before you come to camp. We have a special station in our kitchen that is strictly for preparing special diet meals, and we can replace about 90% of all of the food that we serve with a gluten-free or a vegetarian or a vegan or a kosher option. But sometimes we are not able to accommodate every special need. If that's the case, we will work with you so that you can bring some food with you to camp and make sure that you can eat while you are at camp. Again, on your reservation, there are 2 spots that everyone has to fill out in order to make their final payment. Any medical concerns, so that would be allergies, and any dietary restrictions. So if you have a scout who is kosher, if you are vegetarian, if you can't eat pork, if you can't eat mangoes, you want to list those in that dietary restriction area, or list it with your allergies under medical concerns so that we can take care of them. If you have questions regarding what we can accommodate, again, please contact me directly. And then anyone that has a special diet will need to fill out the MCC Special Dietary Request form. I'll leave this up on the screen for a minute, and I'll ask Corey to also put a link in the chat. For those of you asking, this dietary form is submitted electronically. Once it is filled out, it is emailed directly to the camp. I have received about 35 of these already for this season. So again, make sure you're reaching out, talking with your families, and having them fill out the dietary request form at the link that's on your screen, and that Ken put in the chat for us. Next, I want to move on to our staffing needs. Since last month, we have filled about 5 positions on our staff, but we are still looking for some quality staff so that we can run programs for you this summer. If you know of anyone, a scout or not a scout, that could fill any of the positions that you see on your screen, please have them fill out an application and get that into us. I have another 2 folks that we're interviewing before the end of the week. But as you can see, there are still lots of spots open that we need to fill in order to run our programs this summer. So again, if you know a scout or a not scout who would fill one of these positions, please send them our way. If you have a scout who is attending camp and we hire them to work for us, they will receive a 100% refund. That's a question we get asked quite frequently. To apply, the link is there on your screen. I'll ask Ken or Corey to throw that in the chat as well. And then, like I say, if we hire your camper, they will receive a 100% refund. Now that Ken has that in the chat, we are going to move in to our other COVID updates for camp this summer. So again, I ask that you wait until the end of the presentation with any questions that you have. Yesterday, we updated the camp safety page. The link is on your screen. We'll let Ken warp speed it into the chat again. But what is extremely important is that at least your leadership that is coming to camp goes to this page, which is where all of the updates for summer camp moving forward will live. The MCC posted a webinar pertaining to arriving at camp and the pre-steps that you have to take to arrive to camp. I'll be going over a Cliff Notes version of those in the next couple slides, but you will definitely want to take some time to pour a cup of coffee and watch that video so that you know in full detail what the expectation is for units that are attending camp with us this summer. You can also share this with your families if you so wish. It is a public website. The other thing to note is that in just a moment, we're going to be talking about a bunch of required forms. There is a step-by-step how-to video on how to fill out those forms and make sure that they are ready before you come to camp. We have a total of 5 forms that can be required to attend camp this year. One of these you're used to, that is the annual health and medical record. But we will also have a 14-day pre-screening form, a youth and adult member release and waiver of liability form. This is the COVID form that if you have attended a Michigan Crossroads Council event in the last year, you have filled out to participate, and a supplemental medical permission form. The 14-day pre-screening form is going to be required by everyone that is coming to camp, staff, youth campers, and adult campers. Everyone that comes to camp will begin a screening process 14 days before their arrival. They will take a temperature check, which they will record, and they will do a symptoms check, which they will record. If you have a temperature of over 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, or you check yes to any symptoms during that 14-day period, you will not be able to attend camp, and you will be eligible for the medical refund, which is minus 15%. These forms are turned in to the unit leader, who will bring them to camp. The unit leader will verify that everyone has turned in a form on the day of departure, that there are no temperatures of 100.4 degrees or higher, and that nobody checked yes on any of their symptoms. You will keep those on file with you at camp. They will not be turned in to camp. Leslie is asking, what if you are fully vaccinated? You are still required to complete this form. Lon wants to know, besides Part C of the health form, do any of these new forms require the signature of a physician? I will get to that in a moment. The answer is yes, if you need the supplemental medical permission. So I'm going to move on to the youth and adult member release and waiver of liability. Again, these are the same forms that we have been using as a council since we shut down a year ago. Youth and adults must complete the youth or adult section. Again, leaders will keep these forms on file with them at camp, but they will not be turned into the camp upon your check-in. There is also a supplemental medical permission form, which is required for anyone 60 years of age or older, or who may be immunocompromised or have underlying conditions, which are listed on the permission sheet. If you fall into that class where you need supplemental medical permission, then your healthcare provider will need to sign this form. Again, these forms are kept and checked on file with the leader and will not be turned in to camp. The annual health and medical record is still required for all people attending camp. Like I alluded to in earlier months, all participants, including part-time adults, regardless how long they will be at camp, are required to have parts A, B, and C of the health form to attend camp. We do not accept any other health form. It must be on the BSA health form. It is required to be renewed annually, which means that it is good until the end of the month, 1 year from the date it was issued. So if you attended, or if your health form was dated June 6th of 2020, it is valid until June 30th of 2021. Your health form cannot expire while you are at camp. These will be collected as part of your check-in process. They will be kept by the camp. The state of Michigan requires us to keep these on file for 3 years. So make sure you are bringing a copy because they will not be returned to you, and camp will not be making copies for people. So make sure that your health form is a copy because you will not be getting it back. The Michigan Crossroads Council made a decision last week that we will be postponing Camp Doc until 2022. With the amount of new forms that we have to collect as part of the check-in process, they did not feel it was feasible to utilize Camp Doc for the 2021 camping season. It is not going away. It will still be an option as we move into 2022, but you will be, for this season, needing to collect hard copies to turn in as part of the check-in process. There are also some required unit forms that the unit will need to utilize when they come to camp. The unit commitment to transport form, the summer camp unit checklist, and a daily health screening form. The unit commitment to transport form is filled out by the on-site unit leader who will be on site at camp. What this form is asking you to do is make sure that you have had a conversation with the parents and leaders in your unit that should someone contract COVID-19 symptoms while they are at camp, there is someone who will be available during the week to come and get them and remove them from camp so that they can be tested and quarantined appropriately. Whoever is transporting folks from camp, they need to make sure that youth protection guidelines are met and followed at all times. The person that could be picking them up from camp needs to be listed on their camper release form. And these forms will be turned in and kept by the camp at the start of the week. This also gives the camp a way to contact the unit leader should they need to during the week. The second screen is the summer camp unit checklist. So all of those forms that I alluded to, the youth and adult waivers of liability, the pre-camp screening, the supplemental medical permission, this is your form for the unit to verify to the camp that all of those forms have been turned in. You will turn in this unit checklist as part of the check-in process. It is also where we will record your arrival temperature once you come into camp on check-in day. So this form will need to be filled out. It should be filled out before you depart from your meeting place to come to camp. But this will be collected from the unit leader upon your arrival to camp and will be kept on file at camp. The other thing that we will be doing at camp this summer to keep our staff and campers safe is each unit will have a daily health screening form. Camp will provide you blank forms upon your arrival, or you will have the opportunity to download this form and fill it in with a form fill with your participants' names. The camp is asking and requiring that every unit conducts a daily screening that is done by the unit leader. This will include a temperature and a verbal symptoms check. And then this form will be turned in at the morning leaders meeting each day. Camp will provide you with the non-contact infrared thermometers that you will need. And if during your screening process you have a camper that presents with a temperature of 100.4 or higher, or says yes to any of the symptoms, that scout or adult needs to immediately be escorted to our health lodge. This form is required to be filled out every morning before any camper leaves the campsite for morning program. Next, I'm going to move on to arrival at camp. We are going to assign your unit an arrival time. You will be assigned that time at least 2 weeks prior to your arrival. We are trying to be in a position where we can contact everyone at the beginning of June and let them know what your arrival time will be. We are going to take the size of the unit and the distance that you have to travel into consideration when we make your assignments. If you arrive before your designated time, you will need to wait in your vehicle until your assigned check-in time. And if you arrive late, you will need to wait in your vehicles until the next available opening is presented to conduct the check-in for them. Units are going to check in by campsite, and you will have a campsite host for the check-in process. You will then be assigned a unit host for the remainder of the week. Each campsite is going to check in at a designated area in the parking lot, and we will be checking in 3 campsites at a time. When you pull into camp, you will be instructed where to park your vehicle, regardless of if that vehicle is staying or not. The only person to exit the vehicle once you get into camp is the unit leader that has that required paperwork. They will go through a quick paperwork check-in process, and we will then perform temperature checks of each person in their vehicle before they exit. If any person in the vehicle presents with a 100.4 degree temperature or higher, the entire vehicle will need to leave camp, and those persons will receive a refund in conjunction with the MCC refund policy. We will not have bathrooms in the camp office open. We know that a lot of people need to use those restrooms after they've been on the road for a couple of hours. So we will be putting porta potties and sanitizer available in the parking lot. When you travel to camp, carpooling is allowed. We strongly, strongly, strongly encourage that if you are carpooling, that you carpool by pod, so that if someone presents with a temperature and the vehicle has to go home, it is the whole pod that is going home, because no one wants to sit and go through the same pod process for merit badges that we've gone through over the last 4 weeks. So please keep that in mind as you are making your vehicle assignments to come to camp. The other question that I've gotten asked on this is, what about the driver who's not staying at camp? The answer is yes. They will be temperature checked. If they present with a temperature of 100.4 or higher, the entire vehicle will still go home. Masks and social distancing should be a no-brainer to most folks at this point. but I'm going to cover them anyway. Everyone is required to wear a mask. The only time you don't have to wear a mask is when you're eating, bathing, swimming, boating, or sleeping. Patrol pods that you set up are encouraged to social distance within their pod, and social distancing is required anytime more than one pod is together. That's it. Straightforward. Next, I'm going to go into cleaning procedures. Shower houses are going to be cleaned and sanitized by our staff several times throughout the day, but we're asking for your help in maintaining safe and sanitary shower houses, latrines, toilets, etc. Each stall, toilet, and shower will be equipped with a spray bottle with a disinfectant, and we ask that when you're done using the shower or the toilet that you spray a light mist across all of the fixtures and anything that you touched so that it is sanitary for the next person that comes in. Shower houses, so plan ahead, are not going to be available from 6 p.m. in the evening until 6 a.m. the next morning. That will allow for our staff to be able to come in and sanitize and make sure that that building is clean and safe for you to use. Campsites, including your latrines, will be cleaned and sanitized by the camp staff between sessions. Each sub-camp is going to have a milk crate attached to their bulletin board that will have a spray bottle of sanitizer, a bag of disposable heavy-duty cleaning rags, a laminated sheet of cleaning procedures, and a bag of gloves for those that wish to have them. There will also be a sanitizer bottle available in the campsite latrine, and these will be refilled daily by the commissioner in the morning or by the custodian in the evening as needed, or you can flag a member of our staff down at any point during the day to refill those available as they are needed. Program areas and program supplies. Our program staff is going to sanitize the program area each morning before opening and each evening after closing. We are asking campers to assist with cleaning program supplies, tables, chairs, the full gambit at the end of each merit badge session or open program period. And campers will clean that program equipment as they are instructed by our camp staff. Apparently I misspoke. I apologize. Showers will close at 11 p.m. each evening. 11 p.m. each evening, and they will reopen at 6 a.m. the next morning. Isolation procedures. We will have a COVID-19 isolation tent erected outside of the health lodge. Any camper that is suspected of having COVID-19 upon visiting the health lodge will be placed into that isolation tent. The tent and beds will be sanitized after each use. We're going to have disposable bedwear, etc., vinyl covered mattresses so that they can be sprayed and wiped down, etc. Office operations. The office will be open. We understand that you have to have an office hub moving forward. Only members of the same unit will be allowed in the office at one time. After they exit, our staff needs a moment to quickly wipe down the countertops and keypads and whatever they may have touched before the next members come into the office. The office bathroom will be for staff use only. And this year, coffee will not be available in the camp office for adult leaders. The trading post will not be open during the check-in process as it has in past years. We will have scheduled closed times to be able to sanitize the sales floor. Campers are going to visit the trading post as a pod. Only one pod will be allowed in the store at a time. And we're waiting for some feedback from the state of Michigan, but campers may be required to wear gloves while they are in the store handling merchandise. So just know that that's a possibility, and stay tuned. And obviously, we will let you know exactly what that process will be upon your arrival to camp. I want to talk about some of the camp services that we've offered in the past and how we're going to continue to offer them this summer. The first is the quartermaster, which will still be open for equipment rental for 45 minutes after each meal. Items that are being returned to the quartermaster will have a tag that the unit will need to attach to it so that we know which unit returned the item. There will be an outdoor return area that those can be dropped off at so that we can sanitize those items before they go back into the building. The adult leader lounge will still exist. It will just exist differently. We will be setting this up on the back deck of the dining hall that overlooks the lake. So you'll still have some power and you'll have Wi-Fi. Tables will be set up and marked for social distancing. Sanitizer and sanitizing procedures will be on each table. Users are responsible for sanitizing those areas. And the lounge will be closed during meal times, which is when our staff will go out and sanitize that area while it is closed for the meal. I've seen a couple comments pop up about latex. I can tell you we do not have any latex gloves on camp. Everything we have on camp is latex-free vinyl, or typically it's plastic or nitrile. Charging stations will still be available to adult leaders in the adult leader lounge. Again, sanitizer and sanitizing procedures will be listed on each charging station, and the users are responsible for sanitizing the station that they used. We will still be accepting mail at camp. Mail will be picked up and sorted by our staff while wearing gloves into your unit mailboxes. Again, only one unit will be allowed to come in the office at a time to pick up mail, and mailboxes will be sanitized during the scheduled office cleaning times. The last thing I want to talk about is emergency procedures. These will be gone over with you in a lot more detail upon your arrival as part of the check-in process. But know that our emergency procedures have been adjusted to allow for social distancing when it makes sense. The short answer is there is a third alarm now and a process for using your campsites rather than everyone reporting to one location in camp. But no, again, these are going to be discussed in detail as part of your unit check-in process. So that is pretty much everything for the current COVID updates. Since I put the slide deck together, I have had a couple questions come in about folks that are still on the wait list for merit badges after we reopened merit badge sign up. Those are currently being reviewed on Saturdays. If a scout is admitted into the class, you will receive an automated message from the Black Pug system letting you know that they have been added to that class. If there is not room in the class, we will be emailing you directly to let you know that we cannot accommodate adding anyone else to that class. Finally, to end on a positive note, and I'm sure Dave Lobbs is on the call, and he'll want to make sure that I'm plugging this as well. We do have our Mix Fix coming up on Saturday, May 8th. Registration is still live at the link on your screen. But Saturday, May 8th, from, I believe it's 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, without having the details in front of me, we'll provide you with a lunch. And Cops and Donuts is providing donuts for everyone at breakfast time. And this is just a way to give back to camp, clean it up, spruce it up, fix it up. Normally it would be from its winter slumber, but now it's for being sat empty for a year. So if you're so inclined and wish to give back to camp, consider signing up for Mix Fix and coming up on Saturday, May 8th. So with that, I'm now going to open the chat for questions. I'm going to scroll back through what has already been put in and try and answer some of these for you. If I don't get to your question, because obviously there are a bunch of them, again, please send me an email at andrew.wright@scouting.org so that I can answer those for you. So I think this is where I left off. Will masks and social distancing be enforced the same way that they are for school sports? We will be enforcing masks. If we see you without your mask, you will be asked to wear your mask correctly. The updated refund policy for the council does state that if you do not comply with the state of Michigan regulations for masks and social distancing, as we have laid out for the Michigan Crossroads Council, you can be removed from camp, and there will be no refund for folks that are removed from camp for not complying with state guidelines. Joe wants to know, is expedited check-in no longer an option? Joe, that is correct. We will not be doing expedited check-in this year. We are still encouraging units to conduct pre-camp swim checks. I'll ask Corey if she can put Jay Richardson's email in the chat. I will also include that in my recap email to everybody. But we will not be doing expedited check-in this year because of the COVID requirements from Michigan and the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, or LARA, department. Will adult leaders be allowed to leave the property and return to get more supplies, etc.? The answer is yes. You can still sign out and leave camp and come back in. We're asking that you limit that as much as you can in your units. And then because we are doing that symptom and temperature check every morning, that is our double check that you are still safe to be in camp. I covered latex allergies. If there is an outbreak of COVID and we have to shut down sessions of camp, we will address that with our executive board at that time, and we will communicate that with all of the folks. Mark, this will be posted for everyone, and I will work with our communications chief information officer to get the slide deck posted as well. Joel asked, with the uptick in the state, is there any thought for canceling? The answer currently, Joel, is no. We are planning on operating camp this summer. In fact, Laura just came out with new camp operation guidelines, I believe 6 days ago. It was on the 14th. So the state is planning on moving forward and still conducting camp. Sue wants to know, can adults from more than one pod be in the adult lounge from one unit? The answer is yes. The lounge will be set up to accommodate for one person per table. Don wants to know, is it still one scout per tent? The answer is yes. We are still requiring one scout per tent unless those scouts are from the same household before they come to camp. Let's see, I answered that one there. If all campers cannot be transported to camp at the same time, should they arrive after the troop arrival time? Linda, we're going to be communicating those check-in times out to everyone. If there is an issue with your check-in time, you'll need to reach out to us directly so that we can work with your unit on that. If you know that you're going to need a later check-in time, shoot me an email so that we can take that into consideration when we are making those assignments. Matt wants to know, will the toilets at the shower buildings be available from the 11 to 6 window or no? They will not. The entire building will be shut down from that 11 to 6 window so that we can make sure that it's cleaned and sanitized for you. Richard, you're having some issues making payments. Please shoot me an email directly so I can work with you to get those payments processed in the system. Chris, if we attend Mix Fix, can we camp in the same site we will use for summer camp? The short answer is as long as that site has not been rented for the weekend, then yes, we can definitely do that for you. Let's see. Adults are required to be in pods. They can pod as a group of adults or they can pod with a group of scouts. Glenn wants to know, will there be a document with the arrival procedures? The answer is yes. That will be on that camp safety page, and we will be putting out a camp arrival addendum in the next week for you guys as well. Questions on counselor and training, 14 years or older, are those still available? Yes, they are. You can apply to be a counselor in training at the same website as the camp staff application. Those get forwarded to our program director, Ken McCaffrey, who is on the call, and he will work with your scouts to still be a counselor in training. Counselors in training will still need to fill out the pre-screening, etc. Ken, anything more you want to touch on counselors in training?
Yeah, so far I've only had 3 applicants, so we really would love to see some more. And of those 3, I've only had 1 respond back to me. So at this time, we have 1 counselor in training for the summer. So any scouts that are interested, or if there's happens to be scouts that haven't gotten back to me yet, do so now.
Thank you, Ken. Mark wants to know, will there be changes to the tent policy for tents that have dividers or large enough? The answer is no. We are requiring 1 person per tent, like I stated earlier. Do transportation folks need to have a DHS form? If they are not staying in camp, if they are simply driving scouts to camp, dropping them off and leaving, those folks do not need to have a DHS form. Let's see. Do DHS forms have to be mailed to the P.O. box, or can they be taken to the local DHS office? The state strongly encourages you to send them into the P.O. box because they can turn them around faster. If you take them into your local DHS office, they get put in the hopper to get done whenever they get to it. The P.O. box, if you send them there, like I stated at the beginning, that is literally all they do is process those forms. So the turnaround time is much quicker if you mail them in rather than drop them off at your local office. Let's see. We are not requiring COVID tests or vaccinations prior to your arrival. You do, however, need to complete that 2-week pre-screening form. Will we be revising class schedules? In some instances, we have already revised class schedules where we could. We will continue to look at those as wait list continue to roll in. Please keep in mind that in a normal year, there is no wait list, and our capacities did not change that much from last year or the year before to this year. The areas we saw a larger number of change was in the handicraft and first aid areas. But in a normal year, we do not use a wait list feature. When the class is full, it's full. And the same pertains now. We still have capacities that we have to meet. And some of those are based off of standards or staff supervision. So please keep that in mind as well, that just like in a normal year, when a class is full, it's full. We are, where we can, making accommodations. We have overbooked classes to make sure that pods can get in, and we have added classes where pods can get in. We have a couple weeks where there are some classes that have nobody signed up. And so if that continues to be the case, we may look at not offering that session and may put a different session for a class that is on the wait list in there. So we're looking at those things. But just like in previous years, when the class is full, there's not a lot that we can do. We're working within the means that we have to be able to at least get those pods into the system. Let's see. If you're in the same household, but you're in a different pod, how does this work? You stay with your pod during the day. Preferably, you would not share a tent at that point, but that is up to the unit. Will we provide COVID tests at camp? That is something we are looking at with the Lara office right now. I do not have an answer for you at this point in time, Joel. Can you share a tent with your own child? Youth Protection says that as long as they are your child, yes, you can share a tent. Will adults be required to stay in their pod? Can they go off individually as needed to get paperwork, talk to the office, etc.? The state of Michigan has stated that nobody can travel alone in camp. So the BSA is also set up the same way with the buddy system. So you still will need to travel through camp together. The overnight for Path Scouts will still occur, Joel, so just know that they will need to either take down their tent to then take it back out to the overnight and set it up, or bring a separate tent with them. However, we will not be utilizing the wagon to transport stuff out there. They will need to carry their stuff with them, which is how it was when I was a Path Scout. Where are scouts and adults supposed to use the bathroom if needed during the night? Each of your campsites is provided with a campsite latrine that is perfectly safe to use as a bathroom. Adult bathrooms will still be available in the upstairs of the dining hall as well. Let's see. Is the unit roster under the report tab in Black Pug the roster that we turn in? The answer is no. There is an MCC camp roster that you submit that we compare to your Black Pug roster. Let's see. Will there be a different checkout process on Saturday morning? Saturday will, for the most part, remain the same because of how we handle checkout. There will not be a final closing ceremony gathering. We will be delivering things to your campsites and letting you know when your campsite has been dismissed. Typically, it'll be between 9 and 9:30 in conjunction with our normal schedule. And we will work on dismissing campsites in a way that they will still be staggered as they exit camp. Let's see. Pre-screening forms will be on the camp landing page as soon as they are posted on the council website. Steve, is there an opportunity for parents to come to camp on the last day of camp for the last night? The answer is no. We are not allowing any visitors in camp this summer. How do we add classes to the wait list? If you have a scout that needs to be waitlisted, you will select add to wait list on their merit badge schedule. Some classes no longer have a wait list available. These are the classes that are already at capacity. Let's see. We will still have daily leaders meetings after breakfast and daily SPL meetings after lunch. These will take place at the camp trading post. Let's see. Any special instructions for dropping trailers at the campsite when you come into camp at your scheduled time? Your driver who has the trailer will be temperature checked before entering camp. They will be allowed to go in, drop that trailer in the campsite, and then return the tow vehicle back to the parking lot. Will there be any evening campfire events? Any program questions that you guys have, I ask that you refer to the camp program addendum, which was published last month. We will still be having a form of opening and a form of closing campfire, as well as a form of a camp-wide Vesper service. We will be utilizing the parade field so that we can allow for social distancing for those items. All other program adjustments can be found in that program addendum. How do leaders and SPLs go to meetings without their pod? They should attend. They should go to the location with their pod. If they have a buddy that can attend with them, the remainder of the pod can stay in the campsite while the buddy pair goes to the trading post for the SPL or adult leader meeting. Will there still be an OA call out? Not as you would traditionally know there to be one. The Order of the Arrow Lodge is responsible for putting that together each year. They know the constraints that we have. I know from talking with the lodge leadership, they are looking at doing campsite recognitions during the week for instead of a standard OA call out. Will Class A be required to be worn at all? The field uniform will be required for chapel service and is always recommended. So that is something to keep in mind. I think that answers most of the questions. If I didn't answer your question, I want to be cognizant of folks' times as well. So if you have questions that were not answered, either through this question and answer period or as part of the slide deck, again, please email those to me directly. I'll have Corey throw my email in the chat window one more time. There will be a follow-up email regarding this meeting. It will probably not come out tonight like it has the last 2 months. It will probably come out in the morning because I'm hoping to have a little bit more information that I can provide to you. But there will be a follow-up email after this webinar. Look for that sometime tomorrow morning. Our next webinar, which is the final webinar prior to arriving to camp, is scheduled for Wednesday, May 19th. It'll be from 7:30 till 9 o'clock, just like it has been each month. You can sign up at the link there on your screen if you have not done so already. That will take place in the same format, third Wednesday, same time. So with that, would like to thank everyone for logging on this evening. Please stay safe, stay healthy. We look forward to having you at camp and have a great evening.